All right.
Adam Bierman, Princeton TV. We're here with Andrew Zwicker, an American physicist at Princeton University and a candidate for the United States House of Representatives in the 12th Congressional District of New Jersey. He's a member of the Democratic Party as well as head of the Science Education Department of the Princeton Plasma Physics Laboratory. He is now again seeking election to the seat currently held by his older brother, I would say, another rocket scientist, Representative Rush Holt, who announced back in February he will not be seeking a re-election. Why are you jumping into a race? Let's be honest, it's pretty crowded and has a front runner in Bonnie Watson Coleman.
Right. Well, why run in the first place? So the first part is that Rush, I know, big brother is nice, but mentor perhaps. So Rush recruited me to the Plasma Physics Lab before he was Congressman Holt. He started the education programs which I now run. He left soon after I got there because he won his election. And he showed very much that a person who has a background in science and a background in education can make a real difference. I mean, people of this district have the utmost respect for Rush. And much of that has to do because of his background and what he brought to Congress with that. So when he announced that he wasn't going to seek election, people started coming to me saying, this is working. Would you consider the idea of running? Because the narrative is exactly the same.
Continuity.
It's continuity. So it is a crowded field, but the three other candidates are all career politicians, all coming from what you might call much more of a traditional, stepping stone from state to federal. And so this is saying let's keep this district in the hands of a scientist and a teacher, and do something which is different than what the vast majority of people are in Congress, which is either career politicians or lawyers.
Right. So how does your academic achievement, your academic background, how can that translate to effective leadership and lobbying in Congress?
Sure. So two things that come to mind. One is I'm the only candidate who's actually had any experience at the federal level because of my job bringing in federal grants, because of my education background. So if you add up all of my federal grants that have gone towards innovation and education for teachers and for students, it adds up to over $10 million in the last decade.
I saw that.
Yeah,
$10 million.
$10 million coming
no,
into this.
I have to say, that's serious money. That's a number. It's not a theory. Yes.
No, it's not a number, and this is federal dollars coming into this district. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that everybody is upset with the gridlock that's in Washington, and no one person has any possibility of going down there by his or herself and saying, I'm going to work with the other side of the aisle and it's just going to make everything better. That's a nice thing to say, but that's just not how it's going to work. So the question then becomes, if we start thinking about some of the great challenges that we have, and they are environmental challenges, they're energy challenges, they're education challenges, they're jobs, right? The trick is to then send someone down there who has expertise in these things. So Rush was known on both the Democratic and Republican side as someone who you could turn to if you had a question about science, if you had a question about technology. I mean, he made that for obvious reasons part of what he wanted to promote and bring to this district.
And he looks like Jimmy Stewart kind of too. But anyway.
He's got that look, right?
Yeah.
So I can't by myself, if elected, go in and fix everything. But what I can do is be a strong voice for science, a strong voice for energy, and an expert in these things. And like I said when I started, I've already worked at the national level. Here, I've served on national committees on education, national committees on workforce development. So I think I bring a level of expertise that the other people don't bring.
Mm-hmm. Can you be firm and forceful at the same time genuine, though, when you lobby and fight for things that you want in Congress? Like property tax? No. But
So can I be firm and forceful? I mean, I think science, I guess there's two ways that I would think of how to answer that question. First one is science and science training, the training that I have, is very much, what do? You get a bunch of facts and you come to some conclusions and you stick with those. So it seems to me that the way to be firm and forceful is to use evidence to be behind your decisions. So if the evidence tells you something, that's what we do in science, and that's what you could do in politics, then it seems that you stick with your guns, regardless, because that's what the evidence does, and that's what the training has done. And I think that's what Rush did, and that's what I would bring.
I see. What about if elected, though? What happens to your career? Are you?
Right.
I mean, is your time going to be divided? You have a family here in Kingston.
Right.
You have 3 kids.
Right.
I mean, what goes on?
Well, I would, being a congressman's a full-time career. So in terms of what I would do at Princeton, I would say it's time to move on to the next thing. But what Princeton has taught me is that helping people, which I've done with smaller groups, is an incredibly empowering thing. I mean, my education group that I have at Princeton, fundamentally what we're doing is we are trying to improve young people's lives, trying to improve education, trying to provide renewable energy, things like that. So that part of my career just gets expanded. And then in terms of family, the hardest question to answer as all this came up was not could I do a good job, but was I willing to make the sacrifice of what is a commute between Washington and the district.
Right.
And so that was the harder one, where I sat down with my kids and my wife, and we went over that over and over and over again. In the end, given this opportunity, what we felt as a family was that you don't get an opportunity like this often, if ever, and that given an opportunity to really make a difference, I have to take it.
And you'll work it out as you go along.
Sure. Right. I mean, we'll work it out. There's the train, there's cars. I have family that's down there. Well, that part will get worked out.
Quickly, though, how are things looking? I mean, have you done polls? What's your campaign strategy? We have the primary.
Sure. So there's really been no polls. A couple of the other candidates have done a couple of internal polls. You can believe what you want from those things. There's been no independent poll of any kind. I am certainly not the front runner at this point. I understand that. If I can get my name out there in this short period of time, that will get me so far. But the other piece of this is that everywhere I go, people get really excited about my candidacy. And so if I can get people to come out and vote in a primary who normally don't come out and vote.
Yeah, in a June primary.
In a June primary. So in 2010, only, I forget the numbers, roughly 10% of the eligible voters, something incredibly low. Of those eligible voters, 2% were under 30. It's just these numbers are so low. So what we saw on a national scale with President Obama and getting young people out to vote is got to be the key here. So if I can energize the younger people as a teacher, as a scientist, and I get my name out there, then we have a strategy to win. And if I can't, then so be it. This is a very compressed one. I mean, I'm a scientist too. I know probability, I know odds. But that's the strategy.
Well, Rush Holt lost the first one, and then he snuck it in the second,
Right.
and the rest is history.
Exactly.
So you never know.
You just don't know what's going to happen.
So Andrew Zwicker, well, good luck. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
talking for us. It's Adam Bierman, Princeton TV.